Hi YouTube. So today I want to talk with you guys about my experience with my first chemo treatment. For anyone who might be starting this chemo regime and you're looking up videos like I did, I want to explain like how it went for me, what the side effects were, etc, etc. So if you didn't know and you're just finding this video, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma in October of 2018. It was stage 2 and I underwent 12 chemotherapy treatments. 5 were ABVD, and that is the acronym, or I'm sorry, the letter of each drug, ABVD. I can't quite remember all the drugs, but I know it was like adriamycin, bleomycin, vinblastine. Can't remember the last one, but I'll put it in the description below. So I did 5 of ABVD and I did 7 of AVD, and I will tell you why in this video. So right now I am undergoing, I never got clear from the ABVD, so if you're watching this, don't be scared because most people do with Hodgkin's lymphoma. But I am undergoing additional treatment, trying to get to a stem cell transplant now. But that's not what this video is about. It's about my experience with ABVD, and that is the most common chemotherapy used for Hodgkin's lymphoma. Most people are, like I said, go into remission from this one treatment and they're fine. The large majority of Hodgkin's patients are quote-unquote cured from ABVD. So let's talk about my experience. First of all, with ABVD, most of the time you have to get a port placed. A port is a little device that you have to have surgery and they put it in, and they can stick you with a needle to your port versus trying to find a vein every single time. And I did have a port placed. It was fine. It was really weird because it like goes up into your neck, and I could always see like the line here, and it never just felt natural because obviously it's something that's not natural in your body. So I had that placed because ABVD, if you were to do it through your veins, which some people do, but in America most of the time doctors are like, heck no, because if it gets out of your vein, it can actually burn you on the inside and cause really bad damage. So I wouldn't even play with that. I would definitely opt for the port. Some people get PICC lines, which are like lines that are inserted in your arm. I have to actually get a PICC line for the first time for my new chemo that I start next week. So I will kind of do a video of like port versus a PICC line, what I really thought about it. But anyways, so that's probably your first step if you just got diagnosed and you're having to go for ABVD, is you will get a port placed. It does make your life so much easier. I had my port removed because I was told I was in remission, and also I had a blood clot from the port that occurred like 6 months after I got it. That wasn't like that big of a deal, even though it sounds scary. I just had to take blood thinners for it, but they didn't want to leave me on blood thinners long term since I was in remission. Anyway, so I wish I had my port now. So ABVD, you get your port, and then the most people do what's called 6 cycles of ABVD, which one cycle is 2 treatments. So people usually get that. Some people get only 8, but the standard is usually 8 chemos. The standard is usually 12 chemos, so that's how many I got. And it is every 2 weeks that you go for chemo, and it sucks because just as you're starting to feel better, you have to go for another one. And the chemo, 2 of them at least, they are pushed to you. So it's kind of a freaky experience. There's a nurse sitting across from you pushing these drugs into your, through your port. And they have like gloves and masks and hazmat suits and stuff like that on, and you're just sitting there like, great, go ahead and inject this stuff into me. The worst drug by far, well, there's 2 worst ones. The first 2, A, B, are the worst drugs in my opinion. The A is a red colored drug that people call the red devil. Some people who have breast cancer, I believe, also get adriamycin, and that crap is no joke. It probably made me feel the sickest I've ever felt. Just looking at it, or looking at any red liquids now, make me feel sick to my stomach. It would, TMI, make you have red pee, and that's the one that can like burn through your skin. So I hope to God I'll never have to see that adriamycin again in my life, because it is disgusting, and literally I just feel like I want to puke just thinking about it. The bleomycin, it is the one that damages your lungs, and that happened to me. So basically, after my 5th chemo, I went home. I wasn't feeling the greatest after chemo, but I didn't think of anything like of it. I just, the first day when I get chemo is the worst. Honestly, it feels like you got ran over by a truck, and so I would feel like that most of the time. I would kind of just like stumble home and lay in bed and be there for like the next few days. So I got home and I was like, I'm really like not feeling good at all. So I laid in bed and my husband came in to check on me and he was like, something's not right. So they took my temperature, and when you have chemo, if your temperature goes above 100.4, you're supposed to go to the ER. So he checked my temperature and it was like 101. Not good. And so I was like, I just felt so sick. I was like, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to sleep. And that's not a good sign. Like if you just don't even want to move or do anything, not good. So I just wanted to sleep and lay there. And so he came back again and it was like 102. And he's like, we have to go to the emergency room, Chelsea. Like there's no other option. And so went to the emergency room. On the way there in the car, my temperature was like 104. And I had just like shaved all my hair off, and like nobody was seeing me with a shaved head, believe me. But in the ER, I just didn't care. I had my hair, like I didn't have anything on my head. I was laying on a bench. There didn't have a bed available. I was so sick. So long story short, bleomycin gave me lung damage. It gave me toxicity in my lungs, and they could see that there was like opacities in my lungs, but that hospital didn't know anything about that chemotherapy, and they thought I had pneumonia. So they put me into the ICU and told me I had like sepsis and pneumonia, which is very serious. Like that's something that can kill you, sepsis. That wasn't true, thankfully, but that's the worst drug. So I got off of that drug after that chemo, which a lot of people are removed, like the bleomycin is removed at that time, but for me, like my scan wasn't clear midway, so I probably should have left it in, but I couldn't because that stuff can cause pulmonary fibrosis, which will kill you. So it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. So it's hard to know whether or not if I had that I would be clear and cured now, and not have in this position, but I can't like just say, okay, well, cure me of cancer to kill me from pulmonary fibrosis. No. So those drugs were the worst. The other two, I know I was getting them, but a lot of them were drip, like they were drips, they weren't pushed through, so it wasn't as like traumatic to me. You just kind of sat there. The whole chemo process took like 3 to 4 hours most of the time. You got like pre-meds, you got like dexamethasone, I think, which is like a steroid, and that bothered me too. It really like it's irritating to women especially, so I ended up getting them to do like half of it. And then you would get a shot, which you can see one of the shots they gave me a permanent scar. That was for nausea. It was a shot that they gave you every time, plus you had to take another pill before. I don't know why that gave me a permanent scar, but it did. Also with bleomycin, it can cause you to develop chemical scarring, which is so crazy, and I'll show you on my arm. You can see it. It looks like I got scratched by a Wolverine or something. But that is actually from bleomycin. It just causes these patches to appear. I have some on my arm too, and it's just crazy. Like that drug can go through your veins and actually like cause marks on your skin. It's really, really a disgusting drug, but most of those chemotherapy drugs are disgusting, but they're the only thing that can save your life. So you're kind of like, I guess I have to do it. I guess so. So anyways, I'm trying to think of more things. Like I blocked a lot of that chemo out of my mind, but I'm trying to see if I can remember much more to help people who are going through it. I will say, like I said, the first day after getting the chemo was absolutely the worst. You feel the worst. The next day, you still feel kind of sick, but you're kind of like not as like nasty feeling in your stomach, but I had to constantly take, it's like promethazine. I don't know the name of it, but it's like Zofran, but different. And that always made me sleep for hours and hours and hours, but it was the only thing that would help with my nausea. The Zofran is just like not strong enough when you go through that chemo. Oh, hair loss. I started losing my hair really bad after like the second chemo. I would just like run my hands through my hair and it would be like a hairball. I had really, really thick hair before, so it didn't like look as thin until it got to be like 4 treatments in. I had to shave my head because it was just like I would run my hands through and it would be hairballs I was holding. That was really traumatic on me. The only thing that made it better was that my husband shaved his head at the same time as me. So he showed me, like, he went like this and he shaved his head off and he's like, see? And I was like, okay, I guess we're doing this. I never felt great about it. Once I started having like hair that grew back even like very short, I stopped wearing the wigs and stuff because it's just like, I can't be bothered. Now this time, like, I'm going to be completely bald, and I like, not that my hair, like, I know my hair is crazy, it's curly, but it's like, if you watch my last video, I'm like, I just grew this, why does it have to go? But it is what it is. To save my life, I'll give up my hair. But if you're getting ABVD, you can probably expect that your hair starts falling out right after your second treatment. That's when it really started for me, and I would just sit there and go, okay, and really pulling it out is a lot more traumatic. I think that shaving my head kind of took control over it again, and it stopped my head from hurting, because something that people don't know is that when your hair is falling out, it feels like your whole scalp is bruised and it hurts really bad. So once you shave it off, then it feels a lot better. So that's something that I was glad I did, although it was really hard to do. I'm not sure this time how fast my hair is going to fall out. I've heard it's going to be very fast, but I might or might not. I'm not really sure how my mental state will be, but I might or might not show kind of like what it looks like when your hair actually comes out, because I know a lot of people, if you don't know anybody with cancer or haven't gone through it, then you don't really know. And so I'm really trying to help other people who might be going through this and kind of see what things are, because I remember when I got diagnosed, I was like on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, trying to find videos and resources of other people. Trying to think about other things. Oh, also ABVD, anything that you eat after the chemo, like, because I would not really get to eat anything during it. I would go and like eat a bigger meal at nighttime, although I felt sick. I just needed to put something in my stomach. I hate all of those foods now. So if there's anything that you want to stop eating, like maybe you want to stop eating some sort of junk food or some sort of restaurant, then eat it after chemo. Or if you don't want to not hate the restaurant, then don't eat it, because I literally I like Chick-fil-A still, but like the original Chick-fil-A sandwiches, I ate one after the chemo, absolutely hate it. There's a pizza place that's near my house that used to be my favorite. I ate it on my last chemo, absolutely can't even look at it. Nope, nothing. And there's things that also trigger you, like clothes that you wore or just different random things like that can trigger you and make you sick, because it's just like PTSD, and that is real. I see shirts and stuff that I had, or actually went through and I threw away a lot of stuff. I looked at everything that I had and I was like, oh, I wore that, I wore that, I wore that, I wore that, and I threw it out because I just don't want to see it anymore. There's also something that I developed called anticipatory nausea, and basically what your brain knows that you're going to enter into a traumatic experience and get sick again. So your brain starts getting sick. It starts making you feel physically sick before you even get there. So on my way to chemo, I would feel like I was just going to throw up right away, because my brain's already like, it's like, you know, it's panicked. It's like, why are you poisoning yourself? You're going to get sick. And so I had to end up taking Ativan for that, so I could even like get through the chemo. And I had a really nice nurse, like while she was pushing like the red devil towards me, she would like talk to me, have me talk about other things. I would never look at the red devil, because if I did, I would just want to throw up right away. Another tip I'll give you is always drink like slushies. I drink slushies, I think, through the A and the B, or ice. You could do ice, and it actually helps you with mouth sores, because the one time I was like talking too much and I didn't stay with my like Slurpee and keep my mouth cold, that's when I got a really sore mouth, and I had to use like magic mouthwash, which is actually like a prescription. You just don't want to have it, believe me, because you're already a mess, and then to have your mouth all torn up, you want to make sure that you do that. Ask your nurses about it. I think it's through the A and the B that I would drink the Slurpees. I hate Slurpees now, can't stand to look at them, yuck, disgusting, because that was, you know, I had to keep doing it. Also, this is another mistake I made, which hopefully I can stop somebody from doing. The first chemo that I had, my husband was real big on me drinking water. Drink water, drink water, drink water. Water's good, but too much water is not good, because the first chemo that I had was so traumatic. I was drinking so much water that I ended up hating water. Like, not even kidding. Like, if I drank regular water, I would like throw up. So I didn't drink any regular water for the whole time I was getting treatment, like 9 months. I only could drink sparkling water, and that was it. Like, I could not, like, nope, could not do it. And it took me a long time to even drink regular water again. I think like a whole year I didn't drink it. I drink like Gatorade, sparkling water, you know, stuff like that, but regular water, nope, because so many things can turn into triggers for you. I'm trying to think of what else. Okay, so another thing is after ABVD, the blood cell counts that you have are going to drop way down. Most doctors don't give you a shot, like it's called Neulasta. Most doctors don't give you that on ABVD. I know it differs for a lot of people, but my doctor was saying that it can cause the B drug, the bleomycin, to actually hurt your lungs because of that shot. So I never got it. So sometimes my chemo was delayed, and that really sucked because you're like thinking that you're gonna finish on one certain date, but every time that you go in and you can't get the chemo, then it's delayed again. So I would get there, they would check my blood, they'd be like, nope, can't get it. I'm like, and you're already hooked up with the port, you already got stabbed, everything. Or there'd be times when they stabbed my arm first and then I could get it, so I was stabbed more times. And it's just like every time you've like psyched yourself up to go into that place and be poisoned and they turn you away, you're like, ugh, because you had like, you know, I always was thinking like I would finish like March something, and then every time it would be like longer and longer and longer. Also, there was times when I felt sick, like I had like a cold, like I just felt nasty, and if my counts were good, they were like, you're still getting it. There was one day I felt so sick, I begged the doctor not to give me the chemo because I knew that I would be very sick. I'm already sick, and he still gave it to me. He said, you're too far delayed, you have to get it. It was just a very, very terrible time, and it still is terrible going through this, but you know, you can get through it. I remember the day that I finished those chemos, I couldn't freaking believe that I did it. And the more that you go to chemo, it becomes more normal. I know it doesn't seem like that, but everything can become normal after a time. And so like the thing that got me through was like the nurses that were nice, the other people that I met there, talking about it with my family, you know, just kind of like getting through that chemo hangover for that week. And then every day that you felt decent, just get out of the house and live your life. I was supposed to wear a mask everywhere. I didn't. I'm not gonna lie. I might have got sick once or twice from my daughter bringing something home from daycare, but at the most I didn't get very sick, and so I just couldn't. I already had a freaking head wrap on, a wig, and I just couldn't have a mask on top of it because people just stare at you and they think there's something wrong with you, like as far as like you're gonna give them something, although you're trying to block out their germs. So I don't know. It's just so hard to deal with. That's a lot of rambling for today. So that's my experience with ABVD. If you guys have any questions, if you're watching this and you're going into that chemo, if you're going through it right now, feel free to leave me a question, a comment, anything, reach out to me. I always have my email below if you need to talk to me and you're not comfortable with writing a comment, feel free to email me. And that is it. I'll see you guys in the next one.